how did passage of the Civil Rights Act impact the legal community? How did it affect lawyers and judges?
Well, I mean, I think the Civil Rights Act put something on the books that lawyers could use in terms of when their clients were discriminated against, where they could sue, where individuals could where individuals could go when they'd been fired or not given a promotion or not given a job. Remember, we think about public accommodations, but that law also banned discrimination in employment. And I think the other piece that was terribly important was it really changed the culture of the legal profession. You know, the legal profession suddenly had a weapon. And so it wasn't just a handful of lawyers, you know, a Thurgood Marshall up in New York trying to do something with the NAACP. Lawyers all over the country said, oh my God, I can do something for my client. I'm in Austin, Texas, or I'm in South Carolina, or I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. I've got a law now. And I think that opened up a whole new world. And lastly, and Andrew can speak to this better than I can, I believe it really said to African American young men and women, you can be a lawyer and really do something to make this country better.
And what they did was they started suing the cigarette companies after your example. And I think that they learned to use the law in a variety of human rights and health issues.
This had nothing to do with Johnson. In 1978, I started the anti-smoking campaign when I was at HEW. But
I think it was the lawyers in Mississippi and Georgia and that took on the tobacco companies.
Right.
And
that's right.
And that made the changes.
Mr. Ambassador, how would you describe the state of civil rights in the country?
I think black and white relations are much better than anybody ever thought they'd be. I think that economic relations are far more divided than anybody ever thought they'd be. And I think something happened right after when I went to Congress in '73, Nixon sent over a bill that nobody paid any attention to. It broke up the Bretton Woods agreements. Until '73, the dollar was the gold standard, and it was tied to gold. Everybody's currency was tied to the dollar. And so the whole world was stabilized by the U.S. dollar. Nixon changed that. And we never got back and discussed it because Watergate broke. But that's when oil prices were $2.50 a barrel when that happened. In 6 months, they were $30 a barrel. In 10 months, they were $80 a barrel. And we've been on an economic roller coaster that has made the rich super rich, and it has made it harder for poor people to get back and forth to work. Now that's economics. It's the effect and impact of a global economy. And most of our Congress doesn't have a passport. So they don't have a sense of what they're doing and how they're impacting and how we are impacting the world in which we ought to be leading. But we don't know who's leading it anymore. Now that the Supreme Court has given the people with the most money the right to put as much money as they can in anybody's politics, that's a grave danger.
Do you see immigration as a civil rights issue? And what do both of you think LBJ and MLK would have thought about the immigration issue today?
Immigration is a civil rights issue, and it's much more than that. And let me draw the analogy. President Johnson used to talk about the Negro family, okay? Bring them over as slaves, separate the family, sell the husband, not the wife, and what have you. Then we have the Emancipation Proclamation. The men come north to earn some money to send back to their wives. When they come north, they don't get married. They've got a wife back there. They're human beings. We pass a welfare law that says if you want help for the mother and the child, you got to get the man out of the house.
And the grandmother.
And out of the house. So we separate that. The immigration problem today, I bet that everybody in this room knows some man, I certainly know men in Connecticut, who are working, sending money back to their wives and children in Mexico or Guatemala or Costa Rica or somewhere, breaking up families again. I think the analogy is incredible, and I think it's a total violation of social justice, our current immigration policy. And remember, Johnson passed the Immigration Reform Act. I just would briefly say there's something called the National Origins Quota Act, which said any number of people can come from England and France and Northern Europe. But if you're from Southern Europe, and you're Italian or Spanish, if you're from Africa, if you're from Asia, if you're from Latin America, sorry. We closed off that whole world. In October of it's another issue of relevance. If you go back and look at those tapes and conversations, a day or two after Johnson passed the Voting Rights Act, he said, we got to get immigration reform now, while we've got him, while we've got the Senate. And he got immigration reform, and he signed it in October of '65. And look at America. Black, brown, yellow, I mean, every color. This America, believe me, is Lyndon Johnson's America in terms of the Civil Rights Acts. 4 of them, if you include immigration.
And Martin Luther King's America.
And Martin Luther King's America. Absolutely.
They were very much of one accord on that.
That's true. That's right, on the immigration reform as well.